Drake is done for. The man just filed a 117-page legal meltdown while Kendrick Lamar sits back in complete silence, watching his entire career collapse in real time. This whole situation has the internet spinning because what started as rap beef turned into shootings, break-ins, and a courtroom war that just exposed everything. The big three, dead, and 2026 belongs to the monster they can't stop. Everybody thought they knew the full story about Drake versus Kendrick, two titans trading bars, classic hip-hop rivalry, competitive but respectful. That was the version everyone repeated for months. Drake took some hits from Not Like Us, sure, but he'd bounce back like always. He's Drake, untouchable, billionaire, chart dominator, the guy who survived every single battle thrown at him for over a decade. But now, new court documents just dropped, a 117-page appeal that reads less like a legal filing and more like a desperate confession from a man whose entire world is crumbling. And the judge, she didn't just dismiss his case, she weaponized his own discography against him, used his career as proof that he doesn't get to cry victim now. Meanwhile, Kendrick Lamar hasn't said a single word, not one interview, not one tweet, not one explanation, just silence. Cold, calculated, contemptuous silence. And somehow, that silence is louder than anything Drake's lawyers can scream in court. The whole narrative is twisting because this isn't rap beef anymore. This is a public execution happening in slow motion. Let me break this down because the details are absolutely insane. Drake's original lawsuit targeted Universal Music Group, his own label, the same machine that helped build him into a billion-dollar empire. He claimed that UMG artificially inflated streams for Kendrick's Not Like Us using bots and payola tactics, basically saying they cheated to make Kendrick's diss track bigger than it should have been. But here's where it gets wild. The lawsuit wasn't just about streams. Drake straight up told the courts that Not Like Us didn't just damage his reputation, it put his life in danger. He's claiming the song led to real-world violence, a shooting involving his own security team, multiple break-in attempts at his mansion, threats so serious that he allegedly had to relocate his son for safety. Think about that. Drake is telling a judge that Kendrick Lamar's bars were so vicious they leaked into the physical world and nearly got him killed. And honestly, that's a terrifying claim if it's true. But the court didn't see it that way. Judge Jeanette Vargas looked at Drake's entire catalog, all the subliminals, all the sneak disses, all the times he's thrown shots at other artists and hidden behind "it's just rap" when confronted, and she basically told him, "You spent your whole career playing this game. You don't get to sue when someone beats you at it." The ruling cited Drake's own diss tracks as evidence, his own bars used against him. She called it a vitriolic war of words that both artists willingly participated in. Translation, you started the fire, you don't get to complain when someone throws gasoline on it. That ruling didn't just lose Drake a court case, it violated the unspoken code of hip-hop. The culture has one rule that everyone knows: handle it on wax. Never in court, never with lawyers, never with judges and legal filings. You battle with bars, not briefs. And Drake broke that rule in the most public way possible. Now he's appealing, a 117-page document that's part legal argument, part emotional breakdown. He's calling the judge's ruling a dangerous categorical rule that makes all diss tracks untouchable. He's arguing that Not Like Us crossed a line, that it wasn't art, it was defamation dressed as a hit, that UMG knew the song contained false accusations and promoted it anyway because it was printing money. But here's the problem. The more Drake explains, the weaker he looks. Every new filing, every new argument, every attempt to justify why this case is different, it just confirms one thing. Kendrick's work landed so hard that Drake can't move past it. He's stuck, trapped in the aftermath of a song that the entire world is still replaying, dissecting, and celebrating. And Kendrick? He's saying absolutely nothing. Not a word, not a statement, not even a cryptic Instagram story, just silence. And that silence is the most disrespectful move in battle history, because every day Kendrick refuses to acknowledge Drake's existence, it sends one brutal message: you're not my rival, you're my rollout. Fans online turned into full-blown investigators when this story dropped. They started pulling up old interviews, comparing timelines, analyzing every single bar from Not Like Us to see what might have triggered the real-world fallout Drake's claiming. They're slowing down frames of footage from outside Drake's mansion, zooming in on security details, matching dates of alleged incidents to the song's release. Online detectives found connections between lyrics and actual events, and folks online swear Kendrick didn't just predict the chaos, he engineered it. TMZ just dropped reports claiming that Drake's legal team is fracturing. Some members allegedly begged him not to file the original lawsuit. Others warned that dragging rap lyrics into a courtroom would destroy his credibility in the culture. But Drake pushed forward anyway. And now, after the dismissal and this massive appeal, there are whispers of internal panic, strained conversations with the label, heated calls on strategy, a team that's more focused on damage control than creative direction. Drake's biggest enemy right now might not be Kendrick, it might be his own decisions. Because every move he makes, every legal filing, every public statement, every attempt to control the narrative, it just digs the hole deeper. And the internet is watching, laughing, waiting to see how much worse it gets. Now let's get into the motive, because this is where everything starts clicking into place. This isn't just about one song. This is about years of tension, competition, and a shift in power that Drake clearly didn't see coming. For over a decade, Drake has been the undisputed commercial king of hip-hop, the guy who could drop anything and it would go #1, the guy who dominated playlists, broke streaming records, and turned features into guaranteed hits. He built an empire on being untouchable, likable, the people's champion who could rap, sing, and cross over into every genre without losing his core fan base. But Kendrick built his empire differently. He didn't chase streams. He didn't flood the market with constant releases. He moved like a ghost, dropped albums that felt like cultural events, albums that critics worshipped, albums that changed the conversation every single time. And while Drake was racking up Billboard plaques, Kendrick was collecting Pulitzers. That dynamic worked for years because they stayed in their lanes. Drake owned the commercial side, Kendrick owned the artistic side. They could coexist. But then the Big Three narrative started gaining traction. Drake, Kendrick, and J. Cole as the holy trinity of modern rap, three pillars holding up the culture. And that's when the cracks started showing. Because here's the thing, Drake's success has always been tied to volume. He drops constantly, stays visible, dominates the algorithm. But Kendrick's success is tied to impact. He disappears for years and comes back with projects that redefine what rap can be. And in hip-hop, impact always outlasts volume. Always. Think about it. Drake's peak was 2015 to 2018. If you're reading this, Views, More Life, Scorpion, massive commercial runs. But what do people remember from that era? The memes, the dance moves, the viral moments, not the bars. Meanwhile, Kendrick dropped To Pimp My Butterfly in 2015, and people are still writing academic papers about it, still teaching it in universities, still calling it one of the greatest albums ever made. That kind of gap creates tension, because Drake knows he's the bigger star commercially, but Kendrick has something he can't buy: respect. The kind of respect that comes from being seen as a true artist, a voice, a poet, and that eats at Drake. You can hear it in his subliminals. You can feel it in the way he positions himself in interviews. He wants to be taken seriously as a lyricist, as a competitor, as someone who belongs in the same conversation as Kendrick. But the culture never gave him that. They gave him credit for hits, for influence, for changing the sound of rap. But when it came to pure skill, pure artistry, the consensus was always Kendrick's on a different level. And that brings us to Not Like Us, a song that didn't just attack Drake's reputation, it attacked his identity. The bars weren't just disrespectful, they were surgical. Kendrick went after everything: Drake's authenticity, his relationships, his credibility, his place in the culture. And he did it over a beat that immediately became a cultural anthem. The kind of song that gets played at parties, protests, and family cookouts. The kind of song that becomes bigger than the artist who made it. Drake had two options: respond on wax and risk getting destroyed again, or take it to court and risk looking like he violated the code. He chose the latter, and that choice might have ended his career as we know it. Because now the narrative isn't Drake versus Kendrick, it's Drake couldn't handle Kendrick. And in hip-hop, Perception is everything. Once the culture decides you lost, you lost. Doesn't matter how many streams you get. Doesn't matter how many billboards you top. The respect is gone. And respect is the only currency that actually matters in this game. Put all that together and it looks like the perfect recipe for a public meltdown. Drake's watching his legacy get rewritten in real time, watching Kendrick's silence become more powerful than any response he could give, watching the industry quietly shift its loyalty, and he's stuck in a courtroom fighting a battle he's already lost in the streets. That kind of fall off hits different, because it's not about age, it's not about trends changing, it's about one man outthinking, outmaneuvering, and outclassing another so thoroughly that there's no path back. And the worst part? Kendrick's not even done yet. But here's the part that really hits different, the part that makes this whole situation feel heavier than just rap beef. Drake's not the only one caught in the crossfire. The leaked details from his legal filings describe real fear, real trauma, real consequences that went beyond bars and hit the people around him.
His security team allegedly got caught in a shooting. Think about that. These are people doing their job, protecting someone, and they ended up in a life-threatening situation because of lyrics, because of a song. That's somebody's father, somebody's brother, somebody who went to work and ended up dodging bullets. Then there's the break-in attempts. Multiple incidents where people allegedly tried to get into Drake's property, and whether that's directly connected to Not Like Us or not, the fear is real, the paranoia is real. Waking up every day wondering if the next threat is serious, if the next person showing up has bad intentions. That's psychological warfare. And then his son. Drake claims he had to relocate his child for safety. That's a level of disruption that goes beyond career damage. That's a father making impossible decisions because a situation spiraled out of control. And whether you think Drake's exaggerating or not, the fact that he felt the need to make that move says everything about his mental state right now. This isn't just about ego anymore. This isn't just about who's the better rapper. This is about a man who feels like his entire world is under attack. And the courts looked at that, looked at his fear, his claims, his desperation, and told him it's not their problem, that he signed up for this the moment he decided to be a public figure who engages in diss tracks. That's cold, that's brutal, and honestly, that's the reality of this culture. Once you step into the arena, you accept the consequences. You accept that words have power, that bars can start wars, that respect and reputation are fought for, not given. And if you can't handle the heat, you shouldn't have lit the match. But the human side of this is undeniable. Drake's not just a celebrity, he's a person, a father, someone dealing with real fear. And watching him try to process that fear through legal filings instead of music, it's almost tragic. Because the Drake we knew, the Drake who built an empire, that guy would have turned this pain into the coldest diss track ever recorded. He would have channeled the fear, the anger, the betrayal into something that hit back twice as hard. But he didn't. He ran to lawyers. And that decision, that choice to fight this battle in a courtroom instead of a studio, it might be the thing that defines the rest of his career. Not as the guy who lost to Kendrick, but as the guy who stopped being a rapper and became a plaintiff. And it gets even crazier when you realize what's happening behind the scenes while Drake's stuck in legal hell. Because Kendrick's not just sitting back and staying quiet. He's moving, strategically, silently, building something that's gonna make 2026 the year Drake's name shifts from rival to cautionary tale. First, let's talk about Section 80, Kendrick's 2011 project, a mixtape that most people considered a warm-up before Good Kid, Mad City, just went platinum in 2024, over a decade after its release. Think about what that means. An album that old, an album that wasn't even considered Kendrick's real debut, still ranking up, still being discovered, still being celebrated. That's not nostalgia, that's legacy. That's proof that Kendrick's work doesn't fade, it compounds. Every year his catalog gets stronger. Every year, new fans go back and realize how ahead of his time he was. And every year, that gap between him and Drake widens. Meanwhile, Drake's recent projects, mixed reception at best. Honestly, Nevermind confused his fan base. For All the Dogs felt rushed. Her Loss with 21 Savage had moments, but didn't dominate the way his old projects did. The algorithm still works for him, the streams still come in, but the cultural impact, the feeling that a new Drake album is an event, That's fading, and once that fades, it's almost impossible to get back. Now here's where the whispers start getting loud. Industry insiders, people close to TDE and PG Lang, are saying Kendrick been in the lab, not just working on music, building something bigger, a multi-phase rollout that's going to redefine what an album release looks like. Reports say he's been collaborating with producers he's never worked with before, reaching out to artists who aren't obvious choices, creating a sound that's going to feel completely new, but still unmistakably Kendrick. And then there's Baby Keem, Kendrick's protege, the young artist who's been silent for 5 years. Suddenly, there's sightings. Kendrick and Keem shooting a video in New York, studio sessions in LA, whispers that Keem's new album is dropping soon, and that Kendrick is all over it. Not just a feature, not just a verse, but a full creative partnership that's designed to dominate the conversation. Rumors say Kendrick appears on at least 2 tracks, one with a devastating hook, one with a full verse that's reportedly aimed at, well, you can guess. And if those rumors are true, if Keem's album drops with Kendrick-assisted tracks that immediately become the most talked about songs of the year, that's not mentorship, that's proxy warfare.
Because Kendrick doesn't have to keep punching Drake directly. He can send Keem, let the younger generation carry the torch. Let them test the industry's loyalty. Let them see who's still willing to stand with Drake when the culture has already decided he lost. And the beauty of that strategy? Kendrick stays above it all, stays untouchable, stays in the position of someone who's already moved on to bigger things. Meanwhile, Drake's teasing a new project called Iceman, and on paper, that sounds like a potential comeback, a chance to reclaim the narrative, a chance to show the world he's still got it. But the timing is brutal. He's fresh off a legal humiliation. He's in the middle of an appeal that's making headlines for all the wrong reasons. The culture has already marked him as the guy who took rap lyrics to HR. No matter how good the music is, the narrative is poisoned. Every bar will be dissected as defensive. Every flex will be read as overcompetition. Every attempt at aggression will be weighed against the fact that he went to lawyers instead of the mic. Mixed reception isn't a prediction, it's a guarantee. And here's the kicker. While Drake's planning his comeback, Kendrick's camp is allegedly sitting on vaults of unreleased material, GNX-era tracks, post-GNX experiments, collaborations that haven't been announced, a full arsenal ready to drop at the exact moment it'll do the most damage. The strategy isn't to respond to Drake, it's to make Drake irrelevant, to move the conversation so far past him that responding would feel like punching down. Online detectives have been tracking Kendrick's movements, matching studio locations to producer credits, analyzing social media posts from engineers and collaborators, and the consensus is terrifying for Drake. Kendrick's not building an album, he's building an event, something that's going to shift the entire industry, something that's going to make every other release that year feel small by comparison. And if that happens, if 2026 becomes the year Kendrick fully cements himself as the greatest of this generation while Drake's still fighting legal battles and trying to recover his reputation, that's not a rivalry, that's extinction. Now this whole situation gets even more complicated when you factor in J. Cole, the third corner of the so-called Big Three, the guy who was supposed to be part of this holy trinity alongside Drake and Kendrick. And honestly, his position might be the most embarrassing of all. Let's rewind. When the Drake versus Kendrick war started heating up, J. Cole dropped a response track, 7-minute drill. It was fine, not great, not terrible, just fine. But then something wild happened. J. Cole publicly apologized, pulled the song, backed out of the entire beef, said he didn't want to participate in negativity, that it didn't feel right, that he wanted to focus on positivity and growth. And the internet destroyed him for it, called him soft, called him scared, said he folded under pressure. The memes were brutal, the jokes were relentless, and the worst part, the culture quietly removed him from the Big Three conversation, because you can't claim to be one of the greatest and then bow out when things get real. That's not how this works. But here's where it gets wild. In the middle of all this chaos, with Drake in court and Kendrick silent, J. Cole reportedly declares himself the best rapper alive, just straight up claims the crown. And on paper, that sounds bold, confident, the kind of statement a top-tier artist should make. But in context, it sounds desperate, because you can't bow out of a war and then show up later wearing a crown that the other two were literally bleeding for.
You can't apologize for even trying to compete and then claim you're the best. That's not confidence, that's delusion. And this story is still unfolding, with way bigger implications than just one legal case or one rap beef. What we're seeing here is how the old guard of hip-hop is being replaced in real time, not by age, not by talent, but by understanding the rules of engagement in 2026. The bigger conversation is about legacy, about what it means to win, about whether chart dominance matters if the culture stops respecting you. Drake's situation is a wild example, but it's also a warning for anybody with massive fame and a fragile ego. The more you rely on the system to protect you, the more you lose the culture that made you. Because hip-hop doesn't care about your lawyers, it cares about your bars, it cares about your authenticity, it cares about whether you can take what you dish out. And when you constantly flex power, influence, and dominance, you're not just building a brand, you're unintentionally painting a target on your back. Drake's legal meltdown isn't just about Not Like Us, it's about a man who spent a decade at the top and forgot that the throne isn't given, it's defended every single day.
Kendrick understands that. J. Cole forgot it. Drake tried to outsource it to the courts. And now we're watching what happens when the culture decides you're no longer worth defending. The phrase Big Three went from aspirational to embarrassing. One bowed out, one lawyered up, one leveled up. The era is not over because they got older. It's over because only one of them still understands the rules of the game. Somewhere in the chaos, Drake is teasing a new project called Iceman, but the timing is brutal. He's fresh off a legal humiliation. He's in the middle of a public appeal. The culture has already marked him as the guy who took rap lyrics to HR. No matter how good the music is, the narrative is poisoned. Every bar will be dissected as defensive. Every flex will be read as overcompensation. Every attempt at aggression will be weighed against the fact that he went to lawyers instead of the mic. Mixed reception isn't a prediction, it's a guarantee. Because in hip-hop, there is an unforgiving law. The second you start explaining, you've already lost. And Drake is explaining to judges. Meanwhile, the real question isn't if Kendrick returns, it's how bad it gets. By 2026, the conversation won't be who's better, Drake or Kendrick, or is Drake back, or can J. Cole reclaim his spot? Those questions are dying right now. The only question left is, when Kendrick fully returns, will it be a reset or an extinction-level event? Because he's not fighting for charts, he's not fighting for award shows, he's not fighting for playlist positioning, he's fighting for something far more lethal. Who gets remembered as the one who changed everything, and who gets remembered as the one who couldn't survive it? And if this timeline plays out the way insiders are whispering, Drake won't be the villain, he won't be the hero, he'll be the footnote. Stay locked in because this story is about to get even crazier. More details dropping, more clues surfacing, and reports say Kendrick's team is already moving pieces into place for a 2026 rollout that could rewrite the entire landscape. So drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Drake can recover from this? And do you think Kendrick's silence is the most disrespectful move in battle rap history? Make sure you like the video, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a single update, because we're covering every twist that comes out. I appreciate you for rocking with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe out there, and remember, in hip-hop, the throne isn't given, it's taken. And right now, we're watching one king fall while another rises in silence.